Derek, yay!
Where's everyone else?
Oh wait, everybody's here last night.
So,
Oh,
I'm not sure if I really was able to
You
just
didn't really show it.
talk about. So,
come on, Tim Murphy.
so anyway, this particular dictionary, written by Ernest Klein, on the back there's a bio about him. He was in concentration camps in Germany during the war. It was Dachau and Auschwitz. His family was wiped out. He was a rabbi in Canada and in Poland. Spent 30 years, 20 years studying the English language and wrote an etymological dictionary of that. And in the last 10 years of his life, he spent making this the Hebrew etymological dictionary. You have to know the alphabet sequence to make use of this. But even if you don't read Hebrew, if you just open somewhere and just start reading, the benefit that I find in this is not only does it give you a sense of what some of the words are. For example, this is a random page I opened to. The word spelled pei, het, mem means charcoal or soot. It also means governor. It also means to blacken or make charcoal or to carbonize. And pei, het, mem, he is carbonate. Pei, het, mem, vav, nun. I'm not sure what this word is. It's U-S-T-I-L-A-G-O, ustalago. I'd have to look that up. If you add a yod, pem, pei, het, mem, yod, it's charcoal burner or a smith, or like maybe a welder, a blacksmith. What I'm saying is that this is just a random word. If you take the root word, and then you say, well, what does pei, het mean? Because mem at the end might mean a plural of them, or you all, or... If you look at pei, het, you got to come back over here, and it's a plate of metal, or a tin. It's also a snare or a trap. That's just the word pei, het. It's also disappointment. So why would one word spelled the same way have three completely different meanings? One is disappointment, one is a snare or a trap, and the other one is a plate of metal or tin. So part of the study that I'm doing is looking at this, is that if you're reading through the Tanakh, see, if you have an English Bible, you're just reading it in English, and so you think the English thoughts. Or if you have a Septuagint, you're based on Greek, you go back and you think according to the Greek frame of mind. But if you get a Tanakh and you find a word, whether the word is spelled pei, het, or the word is a bigger word that has pei, het in the word, right next to each other, then I look in here to find what every two-letter pairs mean. For example, I mentioned last night that I got excommunicated from a group. I don't even know why, but there was some kind of conflict where the guy said, Ruach of Yahweh told me to excommunicate you, and so get out of here, and I'm not going to talk to you. And it's like 7 years went by. I finally talked to the guy, and just a few months ago, and kind of said, look, I don't even know what on, but there should be, brotherhood between us. And it's like, okay. But the point is, I think it was of Yahweh's doing, because it forced me to be on my own, to do my own study, where I'm not dependent on the congregation. And it's like, if I want to learn something, I got to open the book. If I want to know when the next festival is, I got to figure it out, or talk to somebody, meet some other people. It forced me to get out and socialize instead of just going and sitting in the congregation, even though it was a pretty active, participating sort of a congregation. But I bumped into the word for excommunicate when I was flipping through here one day, and it was spelled Ba'ashamat. Bet, Aleph, Shin, Mem, Tav. Ba'ashamat. And you can say, okay, your job is just to memorize that that's the word that means excommunicate. But the letter bet literally means in. Bet Aleph is the word bow. Sounds like bow, but it means to come into or arrive, or subsequently. Ash is what we think it is. Ash. Well, that's actually the word fire. Shem, as we discussed yesterday, was name, and this word mat means dead. To be excommunicated, in fire, name, dead. Well, that one word right there tells you, it validates this premise of this whole type of study that you can look at the Hebrew word, look at the individual letters, and the individual 2-letter and 3-letter word groups, and figure out what a word means, just by looking at the dictionary and knowing what the letters mean, even if you don't speak Hebrew. So my point of doing this is to say, I don't know proper Hebrew grammar. I'm not literate in that sense. I haven't taken the time to study it. So I try to tell people this is the illiterate mechanism of reading Hebrew. So I don't even look at the vowel points. Why? Because nobody knows what the vowel points were in Paleo. They were added by the Masoretic scribes in the Middle Ages.
You're writing in, I'm going to just call it a Paleo script. Or
Yes.
a Paleo format, not, because there isn't the Paleo format.
Exactly.
And yet you are using a dictionary that's using current block letters. And so you're reading that, and if I understand you correctly, you're doing that because you're ascribing meaning to letters at a time that had individual meanings differently than we have meanings today in the block
They're
script.
not necessarily so different. If I was going to write this in block script, there's a bet with a dagesh in it, and then
Uh-huh.
here's the aleph,
Yeah.
sheen, mem, and then the tav, ba'ashima. It's exactly the same. But now, if I was going to write like a scribe with the pen,
Well, that's their,
It'll
like
be
their
more like
calligraphy.
this. that's like calligraphy.
I call that calligraphy, and I call these like, they're like stick letters.
Exactly. So if you do it with calligraphy, they always have this flame up there. And then the aleph would have this flame coming down here, another little flame up here.
That's where the term flame letters comes from?
Yeah.
I can't even do that with English letters. Wow.
So there's these flaming letters. So that when they look at the flaming letters, they're thinking, you know, like when you watch a fire, it kind of dances around. It's like this mystical sort of enchanting almost. And so I don't know if you got a copy. Did you get a copy of those 40 pages?
No. I do. I have
Oh, you
right
did?
here.
Okay,
Oh.
so I brought a few copies of the 40-page thing, but it's also on the internet. Now, so what I did, a lot of people, that's what this, just so you know.
Well, this, I copied it and then I futzed with it.
Okay, well, let me just tell you what,
So I condensed it. a little.
somebody said, well, do I
didn't take
have,
anything out.
somebody asked yesterday, do I have like a book table stuff? And it's like, I don't have a book table because all this is like current, and I haven't developed a backlog of material and given a bunch of lectures that I could, you know, have on a book table or anything. I do have a few things that other people tried to help me do. This one guy down in Albany, in Oregon, has this thing that on a polyester fabric does dye sublimation, and he made these up. So I have a few of them if people are interested. What this is the modern Hebrew, this Paleo font, and then the modern Hebrew script, and then it's written here. See, I'm trying to, if you're learning the letters, you need something to read. Otherwise, it does you no good. I mean, you can try to memorize them, but you have to lay your eyes
You have
on
to work
something to
with it.
read. So this, the top there says, Shema Israel, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad. That's the Shema. And down the bottom, there's a psalm that repeats this every other stanza. Hodu la ki tov, ki le'olam chazdo. And he wrote it out in English there, and what it means is, give thanks to Yahweh for his mercy endures forever. So, as two things to read, those are pretty good things to read. So, there's one other thing he did, which I only have a couple copies of. I mean, he can make plenty more, but he works out of town quite often, is he made up this, and you can stick it on your windshield or on a mirror or on a window. You know, you peel off the back, push it on there, and rub it and peel it off, and then it's, and we wanted to get a bunch of these made up, just haven't had the time. He developed this last year. Anyway, I do. He does that. So I put one on my windshield, you know, so you're driving down, it's always like speaking to you. And he also did one of the Hodu, but I don't have any with me. But his name is Lee and Sarah Ingram, and if you contact with my wife, you can even contact him and say, hey, send me down some of these things. So I don't have a book table, a bunch of stuff to sell, but I do have stuff where people have, that were taking the class, maybe got an idea. This other guy made this shirt, property
Love
of
that
Yeshua,
shirt.
Torah department. You know, this is a guy up in Montana who has this shirt making thing, and he says, hey, he wanted to start making stuff. So this was before I even met him, he saw this, but anyway, so it's like, yeah, people should do that. So this isn't about me, this is other people
Right.
catching the taste of Yahweh and saying, wow, we should have great pride, and this is our strength, this is everything. You know, so anyway, I'm just trying to,
You have your posters that you showed me last night? It's a game, circular.
that's upstairs.
Can I go get
Yeah,
it?
you want to get wrapped? It's in that tube up there. So anyway, I've tried to produce a few other things. Now,
It's locked.
uh,
Oh, unless you want. Oh,
I didn't know something was outside. I had
Oh.
a bucket.
okay. So, yeah,
Oh,
did you go away?
anyway, one of the things that I did, last year I did this class. And as I was saying in there, my thought was, I've made the chart and tried to explain it a few times, and people were finding it hard to grasp, and they said, you should explain it in more detail. So it's like, okay, well, I'll do one letter a week. So that's 22 weeks, and then I added 5 other weeks, so that it was actually like 28 weeks, 6 other weeks. So there's 28 weeks, 2 hours of class, like 56 hours, and then a few other things. That there is, so you don't know how to read it.
Put it in front of the camera, though. Hold it up.
I've been working on this for 6 years. It's been hard to get time with the printer. But the point is, this says, Ibarechacha Yahweh va'ishmerecha, Ya'er Yahweh panavalecha, V'chanecha Isa Yahweh panavalecha ve'asem lecha shalom. That's the Aaronic benediction. He says, and so you will place my name on my children of Israel. Well, what's his name? There's a lot of people, for various reasons, that say Hashem or Lord or Adonai. But he didn't say, and so you will place my title or my substitute name. He said to Moshe, Moshe, speak to Aharon and his sons, saying, this is how you bless my children, my son, Israel. This is how you bless them. Say these words. And he repeats this, and then he says, and so you will place my name on them, and I myself will bless them. Now, it seems to me